Toronto Raptors, who take a 3-1 series lead over the Orlando Magic. Chris Miles here with Jim Jackson and Sam Mitchell. Fellas, another performance for the Raptors in these playoffs. Now we have all the teams in the Eastern Conference with either a 3-1 series lead or, like the Boston Celtics, have already advanced. For Toronto, it was that second quarter that they really took control of this game.
But Sam, I tell you this, the kind of championship caliber teams understand how to close out halves. I mean, that 15-3 run going into halftime, even though Orlando was playing pretty good, it kind of defeats the purpose of what they did, but also it gives life to what Toronto wants to do, which is to kind of dominate an opponent and don't give them an opportunity to try to get any kind of confidence, especially going into halftime.
Yeah, they just put the pedal down on Orlando. And right now they're smelling this. They realize that, look, they lost game one, and that was a wake-up call for those guys right there. And since then, they've just been unbelievable. They're just hammering this young Orlando team. And when you look at this team, when you look at Kawhi Leonard, Siakam, Gasol, and those guys, and then you got a guy like Serge Ibaka coming off your bench, and then when you get the production like a Norm Powell today, it's just too much. And then look at Orlando, Vucevic, Fournier. After those two guys, they don't really have enough to compete with this Toronto Raptors team.
The name you just mentioned, Nikola Vucevic, that's the all-star for the Orlando Magic, the guy that you look at, okay, you're in the postseason, they're going to have to rely on you now because you're the veteran on its team. Sam, 39% from the field in this series, 5 for 14 today, just 11 points. He had 8 in the first quarter, and then Toronto shut him down.
Well, but this is what you got to look at. As good a player as he is, he needs his other teammates to be good. Think about something. You can throw Joel Embiid the ball at the three-point line. He can break his defender down off the dribble, take it all the way to the basket, pull up or shoot the three, or make a pass. He's not that type of player. He's got to rely on his teammates. And then when he posts up and playing with his back to the basket, in today's game, that's tough because it's easy to double team that guy and get the ball in his hand. To me, one thing I would do with him, I would move him up to the high post because he can shoot the ball. He's a decent enough passer. And I would do more DHOs with him to try to get him in space because when you put him on that post, the mid post, Toronto just gonna sit in his lap and they're gonna dare everybody but Fournier to shoot threes.
And the easy part is, too, when you're doing the scouting report, it's things you can take away from a team like Orlando because they don't shoot the ball extremely well from behind the three-point line. They don't have creative ball handlers off the dribble. I know Terrence Ross can go off, but that's up and down. DJ Augustine showed us what he can do, but that's not consistent. That's not something that you're going to rely on each and every game. So when you have somebody like Vucevic inside, if you can't maneuver him around the board like a chess piece, okay, and put him in situations now that he has space to work, but that space gets condensed when the other 4 players on the court can't force the defense to have to guard them in multiple situations. Now defensively, you can do what you want to do on the court.
Well, you say defensively because when the Toronto Raptors made that trade for Marc Gasol, you said, okay, that's a postseason move. Like you said, a game of chess, matches, mismatches in how you defend guys. That's really where Marc Gasol has shown that he's a key piece for these Toronto Raptors because when it comes to defending Vucevic, he's been great.
Well, the thing that Marc Gasol does the best was pass. I mean, he can step out on that three-point line. He can make a shot, but he's facilitating. So you think about it, when you have Kawhi Leonard out there and you have Gasol, you got 2 guys, all-star caliber players, and 1 guy, a superstar, that can facilitate the offense, that can score, and can handle the basketball. And that's a luxury now that you have. You have Kyle Lowry out there. You have Kawhi. You got Gasol. You got 3 or 4 guys on the court for Toronto at all time that can make a play for themselves or their teammates, and that's just tough. And Jimmy knows this. The more guys you have in the playoffs who can go create their own opportunities and opportunities for their teammates, the harder you're going to be to beat.
Yeah, and for Gasol, too, the thing is you don't have to help him defensively.
No.
So now you're not breaking down where the ball goes inside with a post player that can't defend. Now you have to dig in a little bit. You may have to double team. So what do? You open up three-point shots or you open up driving lanes or back doors. With Gasol, you trust that you don't have to do that. And on the offensive end, the one thing, too, with him, having the experience of playing through the playoffs, he has that. He has that playoff experience. But the knowledge and what to do in time and score in critical situations is what also he brings to the table.
Here's Toronto Raptors head coach Nick Nurse.
Kawhi with yesterday, are you going to give it to all your guys the rest of the week?
Yeah, sounds good, Doug. Again, I just think he's playing at a level, and he just didn't quite have the juice to play at a level than the last game. Again, I thought he still gutted it out, grabbed 10 boards in the last game. But again, today you see him moving a little better. We're playing with a lot more force, just quicker with the ball, et cetera. The energy was better for him tonight. I think that was the reason.
Tim?
Nick, Tim Reynolds with the AP. Two things. One, how important was that stretch in the third when I think Kawhi scored 3 straight times to answer Orlando getting within 12 or 13? And secondly, on a little more lighter note, were you aware that you were trending for your reaction to the 3-second call in the first quarter?
I wasn't aware of that. Is that a good thing? Is trending a good thing? Oh, it is? Okay. Yeah, I think again, these series and even the games and the series is a lot about imposing your will on the team, right? And I think they make a run and Kawhi goes down and gets those 3 buckets in a row, and it's a little bit of imposing your will of you can make a run but you still got to get some stops, and we got a really good player that's going to get us baskets when we need them. And I think, psychologically that has an impact on a game.
Up front on your left here, Coach.
Coach Melissa Thomas of Florida National News. How gratifying is it for you and your team to be able to secure both wins here on Orlando turf?
Well, it's certainly gratifying and certainly gives us, a chance to, win the series. But I still say most importantly, I'm more concerned and probably more pleased with the way we played, right? In games 2, 3, and 4, we've gone out there and really guarded. And that is who we are becoming, need to be, each and every minute of each and every game. And we've done it, I think, pretty well 3 games in a row. So that's more pleasing to me, I think.
To Eric, midway down on your right, Coach.
Eric Corrine, The Athletic. Given all the things we talked about all year, are you pleased with how the starting 5 is really sort of on a string on both ends almost now?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think they're doing a lot of really good things, especially defensively. And I still say there's a lot of great offense being played too, but I still say there's maybe 10 possessions tonight that I'd like to have back, where I think we could have probed longer and moved it a little more and continued to break down the defense to get a better shot than we took. So again, there's a lot of good play there, Eric, but I think I still see some upside there with that group.
To the left here, Coach.
Danny Thompson around theassociation.com. Coach, talk about what Serge and what Norman gave you off the bench tonight.
Yeah, they were both great. Again, I just think Serge's activity is a problem, right? It's a problem. They turn the corner on us and head down to the basket, and he's down there taking a swat at it, getting a piece of them, maybe not getting them, but altering shots, rebounding the ball at the offensive end and putting a couple back. We're big. Banged in a 3, and then I thought Norman played with great force tonight. Man, he was a rocket to the rim. He got strong and got up and finished, and a couple of those were big baskets. I thought the game was, they were clawing back into it there, and he made a couple strong moves and pump fake and got him up and got it to the rim and laid it in. So those 2 guys were super off the bench tonight. Really good.
Down front and to your right, Coach Ryan.
Hey, Coach. Ryan McNeil from Athletes Unfiltered. Orlando had a really good start, 6 to 7 field goals. You guys called timeout. Kawhi came back and scored 6 straight points for you guys. How pivotal was that for him just punching back and giving back a little momentum?
Well, I think, again, when you're on the road, you're always worried about the start, right? Because and in this situation, probably in particular, them coming off a couple losses, desperation mode a little bit. And they, crowds juiced up and you're always worried about the start. And I think we turned it over our first couple possessions. And then we turned them over, but didn't get anything out of it, right? We made 3 or 4 really good defensive plays and raced it down and didn't really get anything in transition. I gave them some credit at the end of the first quarter because I think we'd created 6 or 7 turnovers already, and we had hardly anything to show for it. So they did come out with great energy and force. Again, they're making adjustments to what they see game to game. It's a very well coached team and a very good team. So I'm glad we hung in there and were able to answer back early in the game and hold our footing there a little bit.
Third row in the middle here, Coach.
Philip Rossman-Reich, Orlando Magic Daily. What effect did getting Jonathan Isaac and Aaron Gordon into foul trouble in the second quarter have on the ability for you guys to kind of pull away there?
Well, I think Gordon was a big problem tonight, right? He was doing a heck of a job, I thought, scoring and getting it to the basket, and we were having a hard time keeping him in front or just controlling him. He was playing with a lot of force, just coming around those screens and using all his size and athleticism. So, that probably helped us a little bit that he got in some foul trouble. And again, Isaac's length is also a problem at times, for Pascal. So, having two pretty long defenders for them picking up some fouls tonight was nice to see for us, actually.
Second row here, Coach, on your right.
Keith Smith, Yahoo Sports. Kyle Lowry seems to be adapting more into a playmaker role versus scorer than in previous playoff runs. How big is that for you guys as a team to have other players who can carry the scoring load?
Well, I think it's really big for us because I don't think he feels the weight of the world on his shoulders that he got to get us 20 for us to win, right? Because, again, his natural instincts for a long time have been to lead a team, play his guts out, make plays in a lot of areas. The scoring's kind of just come here in the last couple of years and needed to be a big time scorer for us in the past. And I love him in this role because I think he's tailor made for it. And he can still shoot the ball. He's still a big time threat. You got to run out to him because he can bang a three or a bunch of them with the best of them. So again, I like that we got some options, right? I think it's great that we get 29 points out of Powell and Ibaka off the bench. That's big for us. That doesn't happen every day, and a lot of those things are set up because they're worried about Kyle, Kawhi, Pascal.
Last couple questions here. I've got one in.
Luke Hetrick, Spectrum News 13. How easy is it for you guys defensively knowing that Mark can handle Vooch and frustrate him one-on-one in the post?
Well, it's not easy, right? But it helps, right? It helps because we got some schemes going on. You're seeing them that we're doubling, right? But we don't do it very often when Mark's on him. So it's nice to be able to stay home and not open up something else like a three. So it's nice. And again, I still say Mark's really good in there, and so is Serge. It's a tough proposition. That's two really good defensive centers that we're running out there for the full 48 minutes.
And to the back on the left, there's the last question.
Hey, Coach. Juan Bernal, WPRK. With two convincing victories in the past 3 games, is there any form of, or is there any worry of complacency from you heading into Game 5, going back home on Tuesday?
Well, I think you always got to worry about that. You worry about that all season long in this league. After you win, you gotta forget about that last one and refocus and do your job. Again, our message will be let's build on this. Like let's make sure we understand and see what we're seeing. We're doing well. Let's tweak and fix some of the things that we can still improve on, and let's worry about us and forget about the score and forget about who we're playing and the series and all that stuff, and let's concentrate on the Toronto Raptors.
Thank you, everyone.
E5, that's now a franchise record road victory margin, 22 points. Here is Orlando head coach Steve Clifford.
John Denton, OrlandoMagic.com. Cliff, how deflating is it when you'd make a run, you'd get something going, and then Leonard would come back with a couple of buckets where you had him pretty closely guarded?
Yeah, I mean, like to me, it's the turnovers, the rebounding game, and then same thing. It's just our purpose of play. I mean, we don't have in this series. They're playing well. They're hard to play against, and you can see early in the game. We're going to have to move the ball. It's going to have to be inside out. And then, like, when we make a couple, we can't go back to, I can score on these guys. We have to understand how we have to play in order to play well. And it takes a level of discipline that's difficult, and that's our chance. And if we're not going to do that, we're just not going to be able to score enough points. And again, I mean, I know it's not easy. Listen, again, the effort is terrific. I mean, just like the other night, but you know, like early in the game, you know, you come out, a lot better, and the ball is moving, it's inside out, we're hitting it, we're getting open shots, and we've got to stay with that. It's got to stay with that game.
Steve, Josh Robbins with The Athletic. How much did Jonathan Isaac's early foul trouble, the first 2 fouls, and then the third foul early in the second, impact your team, and in what ways did it impact your team?
Yeah, well, I mean, it hurts our depth, obviously, and then the other one is it's our defensive matchups when they have, you know, their starters on the floor. It's harder for us.
Coach Keith Smith, Yahoo Sports. With the foul trouble and all that, did that really throw you guys way out of rhythm today with that? I know you just talked about Isaac, but then in the second half, it seemed like a couple other guys got enough foul trouble. Did you consider changing up the rotation, going back to guys earlier in the fourth quarter, or was that part of it?
That's what we did. Yeah, those guys all played a lot more minutes tonight they all went back earlier than they normally do. Vucevic went back earlier. Augustine went back earlier. Aaron Gordon didn't come out in the third. So, I mean, yeah, that's what we did. It's not going to look like it because they didn't play the last 3.5 minutes, yeah.
Coach, Melissa Thomas of Florida National News. Can I speak to Evan Fournier's performance tonight as well as Aaron Gordon? It looked like they hit a lot more shots tonight in comparison.
They both finished a lot more plays on offense.
Cliff, all the way in the back. Tim Reynolds with the AP. You guys have sort of been built on resiliency all year. I mean, the end of January, you were out of it, and then, you know, you keep finding ways. Is that going to be the message over the next 48 hours that, you know, you faced dark times before this season and found a way out of it? Is that how much is that going to be underscored though?
Yeah, to me, what I just said in the locker room is we can do one of two things. We can either do the proverbial, we're down 3-1, we'd have to win 2 in Toronto, they're really good, say we're going to fight no matter what, and then if we get down 10, stop fighting, or we can really fight. And we won't know until adversity hits in 2 nights. And listen, our guys have fought hard all year. Sometimes, you know, and this happened early in the year as we started playing better, it didn't. But sometimes when you watch basketball games and teams struggle to score, it looks like they're not trying. That's why watching the film tells you everything. Even tonight, our effort is good. Our ball handling, our passing, our catching, and then sometimes our spacing, then we get frustrated. That's our issue. But I think that we'll try hard. And I have to continue to try to look for ways to help. But we have to stay with, like I said, watch early in the game. That's how we're going to have to play against this team. You know, we don't have a lot of room for error. It's going to take a commitment to quick decisions, ball movement, and pass the ball on target to the open guy beside you. One thing that we normally do that I didn't feel we did tonight, normally we're a good passing team, and I felt even early in the game, our passes are all over the place. And so even when guys are open, it's high, it's low, and, you know, we're taking shots away from each other. And their defense obviously has a lot to do with that.
Coach Danny Thompson around the association.com. I know without looking at the game film, the three-point shooting wasn't exactly where you wanted to be. Do you think you guys took enough quality shots from behind the three-point arc, and were you happy with the shots that you guys had?
Before watching the film, I thought, particularly in the first half, I thought we got, you know, open shots, yeah. I won't really know till I watch a film, though.
Aaron Goldstone, Orlando, Pinstripe Post, SB Nation. Coach, you've talked a lot this series about limiting turnovers, starting halves good. Now, is your focus going to shift a little bit to defensive rebounding? I know the Kyle Lowry offensive rebounding game in Game 3 obviously hurt your team, and tonight there was a stretch where Ibaka tipped the ball, you know, wrestled it away from Birch, laid it in. Next possession, I believe, Leonard tipped the ball out. It led to a Norman Powell 3. You know, those second chance opportunities against a team that's so good like Toronto, is that just because your team's, you know, scrambling and trying to cover them, or what's going on with
no, we're just not. First of all, I totally agree with you. I thought it was, you could make an argument, Game 3, the biggest difference was, you know, their fourth quarter offensive rebounding. And, you know, the same thing tonight. But, you know, in the first time out, the two things I talked to them about were we had good energy, but we did have turnovers and we weren't hitting at all. And yeah, we're going to have to hit. There's no question. I mean, if you look at the strengths of the teams, if we turn the ball over, it's going to be a problem. And if we don't win the rebounding game by a pretty significant margin, it's not going to happen for us. So I totally agree with you.
Steve, how do you assess Vooch's play tonight, and can your team get back in this series without improved play from him?
I think we have to have improved play for a number of guys, you know. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't thrilled with the way he played, you know, but we have a number of guys who are going to have to play better.
How do you assess his play?
I mean, you know, not his best, obviously. Not his best. And I think he'll tell you that when you talk to him.
Chris Hayes, Orlando Sentinel. You spoke about Gordon earlier, back to him. He kind of took over that third, showed the things he can do. Even sometimes the teammates didn't seem to recognize that, but how do you assess his third quarter?
Well, I thought in the third quarter he was good. He got his pick and roll. It was mostly pick and rolls, and, you know, he was getting in the paint, trying to make the right play.
Coach here in the middle, Luke Kettrick, Spectrum News 13. What specifically have Ibaka and Gasol done to sort of neutralize Vooch here for these couple games?
Well, they're also, they did it tonight too. It's a team thing too. They're doubling him in the post, you know, so when we post the ball, he's not getting any post-ups he get are only off switches where we can get the ball to him quick. So they basically said, you're not scoring in the post, which obviously is a big part of his game. And then, you know, I mean, like tonight, he only took 2 threes. You know, most of his good games, it's, you know, he's, to me, got to shoot 4, 5, 6 threes. That's one of the things I've got to help him with too, though. Good?